Hey guys, welcome back to the next part of the series. Today we're going to be taking a look at the shader setup before we jump into the rendering. So I'm in the new scene here inside of Blender. I brought in the exported FBX that we did the bakes to. And then, as you can see right here, I deleted the lights, the camera, and I just combined with Control J to get this shader right here. If we go to the materials, you're going to see that we have our lava axe material. And now I'm going to show you how to connect everything so that we can see exactly what we saw in Substance here inside of a Blender. So we're going to go to the shading tab, and here's where the magic is going to happen. We're going to be doing all of our work inside of this part right here, which is where our nodes are. And we're going to start with the easiest material, which is the base color. So we're just going to drag and drop the base color here into our scene. And if we connect the color to the base color of our material, there we go. We're going to have the material right there. Now we're going to bring the next important texture, which is going to be the normal texture. Now the normal texture needs to be plugged into this normal map node. If you don't have this normal map node, don't worry, just Shift A, go over here, and we're going to look for normal map, and that's the one that we're going to be using. We connect the color into the color, and then the normal into the normal. But there's a couple of things that we need to do, because as you can see, this does not look as right, okay? So first thing, the normal map, we need to select the space, and this should be set to non-color. This is very, very important. And secondly, you can see that, for instance, the rocks right here, they seem to be going in instead of going out. This is because when we were in Substance Painter, if you remember, we selected DirectX, which is the shaders that we normally use inside of Unreal. But for Blender, we need to use OpenGL, so we need to do a flip. The way this works is very simple. We press Shift A, and we're going to look for a RGB curves. There we go. And we're going to plug this in between the normal map and the normal map, with the normal map and the normal map node. This RGB curves, we're going to go to the green curve, and we're going to flip it. We're just going to grab this point right here, bring it down, and grab this point right here, and bring it up. And that's going to give us the proper, like, normal map, as you can see. Because at the end of the day, the OpenGL and the DirectX, they literally just flip the white channel, and that's all you need to get the normal map to be working properly. So yeah, that's the second map. The third map that's very, very important is, of course, the Occlusion Roughness Metallic. So we're going to bring this right here. Now, the Occlusion Roughness Metallic, we're going to set the color space to raw as well, so that we don't have any color correction. And the interesting thing about this map is that it's actually three maps into one. So we have the Ambient Occlusion map, the Roughness map, and the Metallic map. And each map is saved in a different channel of the image. We know that all of the images in the digital world are made out of three types of colors, R, G, and B, red, green, and blue. So this image is saving each specific one of those maps into one of those channels. So we need to do here a RGB split. So we just press Shift A, and we can say split, or RGB, where is it, separate? There we go, separate color. So we're going to separate color, and we're going to separate this color into red, green, and blue. The red channel is the ambient occlusion, which is a little extra shadow that we have on our element that can make our colors look a little bit more intense, more cool. So in order to do this, we need to do something called a color, or a mix color. There we go. So color 1 is going to be the color, color 2 is going to be the red color, and the blending mode that we're going to be using is a multiply. Where is it? There we go. And the result should give us the exact same color that we had before, but with a little bit of extra shadow in the ambient occlusion parts. Then the green color is going to go into the roughness, and finally the blue color is going to go into the metallic. And that should automatically make things look very similar to what we have inside of Substance Painter. Right now, it might not be exactly the same, because of course the light is not exactly the same, but as you can see, the metal is working like metal. You can see the blade right here, very, very intense. And the final texture we need, of course, to make everything look very cool is the, what's the word? The emissive map. So we're going to bring the emissive map, and the emissive map, let me just move some of these nodes around, will be connected to the emission color right here. And there we go. So by doing this, we're going to have our color right here inside of the engine. If we go back to layout mode and we go to material preview, you're going to see that we have the exact same textures and acts that we had inside of Substance, but now here inside of Blender. Now let's do something very quick here. I'm going to go to the environment, and I'm going to bring in the texture environment that we had before. You guys remember it was on our source images, this yoga room thing. There we go. And if we go to render, right now this is Eevee. Remember, we're in the real-time rendering engine, and we can bring the strength down to like a 0.01, so really, really, really low. And look at how nice the emissive looks right there. Not bad, right? Not freaking bad. Let's do 0.1 so we can see a little bit more. And one very cool thing about this like shader right here is that the emissive has an emission strength. Right now it's set to 1, but we can actually set this to, for instance, 5. And if we do that, the glow is going to be a lot stronger. Now, we're not going to be able to see this until we turn on something like cycles, for instance, where it will actually, as you can see, be emitting light into our element. Like, see all of this light that we see right there? That light that's being emitted. Sorry, I'm not sure if the audio cut off there a little bit, but as I was mentioning, now that we have this emission, all of this emission that we have right here is being emitted, and we can actually see some of the reflections on the actual element. And we can go and increase this way, way more. Like right now it's set to 5. Let's try it like, I don't know, like 15. And you can see that now we're going to have even more glow pretty much everywhere. If we combine this, of course, with a good light and a good light setup, we're going to be able to get a very, very, very nice effect. Of course, this sort of stuff, the more or the less intense this thing is, the light, I mean, the less intense the light is, the more intense this effect will be. But as you can see, we get a very, very nice effect. We can go really high, by the way. Like right now, not that high. We can go like 500 or something. And as you can see, we're also going to be getting this thing that I mentioned. The more or the higher we go, the more brighter and the wider things will be. But as you can see, now we get a lot of emission going here into our element. Let's go back to like 5. I think 5 is a good number right now. And if we go to our environment, we can do something like, I don't know, like 0.5. So we can see a little bit of the glow, and there we go. Now, these colors might seem a little bit too saturated. I actually find them a little bit too saturated, and it's making everything look a little bit too cartoonish. And here's where the shading is really interesting, because we can change certain things. For instance, this emissive color, we can add Shift A. If we go to the color options, we can change the hue, saturation, and value of this thing. And for instance, in the saturation, we can reduce the saturation by 0.5. And that way, it's not going to be as saturated. Maybe 0.5 is a little bit too much. Let's try 0.8. There we go. And we're only changing the saturation on the actual like elements right there. Let's go to layout, and there we go. I think that might be a little bit too much change on the saturation, but it's one of the advantages that we have by doing this here. We can also change the factor. The factor is like the intensity of the effect. So if we want to just lower it a little bit, that's another option right there. We can change the hue. If we want this thing to glow in a different like color, we can also change that. Like if we do 0.5, the color or the element is going to like be glowing in a slightly different effect. It should. There we go. So you want the green like evil glow, you want the blue glow. Well, all of these things can be changed with this hue saturation though. I'm gonna get rid of it for now. Let's keep the emission as what we have, because one of the things that we're gonna be seeing is, depending on the render, on how the render is looking, we're gonna have a slightly different effect. As I mentioned, I think I'm going to go back to Substance Painter. There's a couple of things I need to fix. As you can see, we have some glow coming from underneath the element. That's not something that we want, so we definitely need to hide that. And another thing that I want to change is I want to get rid of this lava thing. It's not working as I was expecting, so we're not going to be using it now. So yeah, that's pretty much it, my friends. That's how we set up our shaders here inside of Blender. And now we're ready to go into the rendering section. We're going to do some clean renders first. We're going to do some turntables and stuff like that. And after that, we'll do the cinematic render. So hang on tight, and I'll see you back on the next one.